A lot has changed since the last video, so let's dive in. I'm Tom, and this is the second devlog for my new indie game, FEYGHT. Keeping with the Doodle-like theme, I created a shader that adds a paper texture over the game. I'm pretty new to shaders, but it wasn't too difficult to create. It's just a simple bit of noise and Veroni noise passed into the alpha channel with the UVs set to world space. I then applied the shader material to a square which covers the screen and made it a child object of my camera group. For those interested, here's a quick look at the paper effect shader in Unity's shader graph. To add more movement and life to the game, I also created a shader for procedural cloud shadows. I like the effect, but I'm not fully happy with how the cloud shapes turned out. I'll show how I made it in a future video once I have a version I'm happy with. AI has been a pretty big focus of development recently. Lumberjack and Miner AI is pretty much done, and I've worked out most of the bugs found through testing. Gatherers start gathering the resource when instructed, then return it to the nearest resource storage point. Once a resource is depleted, they will automatically look for new resources nearby. If none are found, they remain idle until given further instructions from the player. I also added in the beginnings of Farmer AI, which currently works similar to other gatherers, but I'm considering expanding it to make farming more interesting. After that, I worked on AI for melee units. Spearmen and swordsmen can be given movement instructions similar to gatherers, but they can now be sent to attack enemy units. If they are idle, they will also detect enemy units within a set distance and attack them on their own. Enemy units have a similar AI system and actively search for player units to attack. It took a bit of work to get right, but during battles both player and enemy units will align themselves to a good distance and height of each other depending on their attack range. This makes attacks look like they have hit their opponent and stops them from standing in front of each other. However, when multiple units are fighting the same enemy, they have a habit of standing on top of each other, making it difficult to know who's who. So unit avoidance is something I'll need to develop further in the future. After some testing, I received feedback asking for a way to select only warrior units, as players were accidentally sending gatherers into battle. If you double click on a unit, it will now select all units of that type that are visible on screen. This makes it easier to group units and avoid selecting gatherers when sending units to battle. You may have noticed the layout for UI has changed since the last video. It's only rough, but I feel a lot better about the new look. It makes better use of the screen and isn't as intrusive. I also added a button to open the build menu, as well as a pause button for those who would rather just use a mouse. The game now has a functional main menu with a custom font made by Hackett, an Illustrator based in North Wales. You can find her socials linked below. Once more of the game systems are in place, I'll work on adding settings to the options page. Let me know in the comments if there are any accessibility options you would like to see in the game, and I'll see what I can do. I look forward to seeing you in the next devlog. Don't forget to subscribe so you know when it's out.